Hello, I'm Sean Lokes, technical manager for Turf in the UK and Ireland. I'm excited speaking to you guys today about Acernity. We've had a change to the label, so we've got a label extension, so we can now use Acernity on golf greens and tees. So just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that, just so you're aware of it. So some of you might be aware of the product already, but for those that aren't, just wanted to touch on a little bit about it. So yeah, it's something we're really excited to be able to bring for you guys. So yeah, let's dig into it. So the new label isn't really going to be that different to the previous one. We've got the two mode of action fungicide there. But yeah, historically, we just had it for sports turf stadiums in the UK. So intensively managed stadiums with full fencing all the way around them, to the point where wildlife wasn't able to get onto those. And in Ireland, we've had it for golf for a while. So we know a lot about the product, and we've got a lot of research behind it already. But yeah, now we've got it for golf, greens and tees for the UK as well. So really exciting to have that. Other things you'll see on the label. So it's application rate of 3 litres a hectare, and it comes in a 3 litre pack size, water volume between 125 and 500 litres a hectare. And you've got a maximum of 2 applications you can use per year. And areas of use, again, golf greens and tees only, and enclosed stadia is the only other area. So the label doesn't allow for anything more than that. It doesn't allow for sort of grassroots football pitches or anything like that. 2 active ingredients. So difenoconazole is something we've had historically for turf. That's one of the active ingredients in Strata Elite. So we know that's a really, really good solid active. And also solatanol is a really new one for us. So we're really excited to have that as an active ingredient in our portfolio as well. So in terms of formulation, it's a soluble liquid. And label diseases is going to be controlling your fusarium patch or microdochium patch, dollar spot, and anthracnose as well. Those are the 3 label listed diseases. And in terms of activity, it's a dual systemic, so it's going to give you that contact, but also those systemic properties. It's going to be moving through the plant and offering protection in that way, which is what we want to have. In terms of application, it's got to be boom applied. It can't be applied via handheld application. So a little bit on the 2 actives. So difenoconazole is a triazole. They're both different mode of actions, and that's what's really exciting about the product, is that you've got 2 things together. We know that's worked really well in Strata Elite. We know the industry knows how to make that work, and the reason for that is it's kind of 2 mode of actions going at the same disease, are essentially approaching the same problem from 2 slightly different angles. It just means we get better control of those diseases, and we're less likely to see resistance when we apply different mode of action products together. So yeah, the really good news story. They're both balanced systemic movement, so they're not moving really, really fast in the leaf. They're just balancedly moving through it. I think when we develop these as chemical companies, we're often looking at the big agriculture side. So we tend to make products that move quite fast through the plant. That's not a problem if you're growing corn or wheat, because it just goes to the leaf tip, and it's not a problem that it's there. It can redistribute from there. But the issue is with us in turf grass, we're obviously cutting the grass regularly, we're mowing regularly. So we're taking that active ingredient away if it's all shooting to the leaf tip. So we want something that's a balanced mode of action, balanced systemic, that's going to slowly move and offer good protection for the plant without all shooting just up to the tip. So it's got lipophilic properties, both of the actives have. That means they're going to bind with the wax on the leaf and sort of go in via that pathway. Solatanol's got that early curative and preventative activity, and difenoconazole's got that curative and preventative activity as well. So yeah, in terms of microdochium, which is probably going to be the biggest threat to people this autumn and winter season, really, really good levels of control, and you can see outperforming historically available chemistry there. So it's really nice to see that with the Acernity at our rate applying, outperforming that in trials. In terms of formulation, the chemistry department have done a really, really good job on this, making sure it's a product that's kind of retaining those droplets on the leaf, and that it's got strong and rapid binding to the wax layer. So making sure it's getting absorbed. What we want is for a product to spread out, engage with that waxy layer, not bounce off the leaf. When we think about a plant leaf, it's got wax on it to avoid water, because it knows that it doesn't want to be sitting in water all the time, because that's what fungus funguses like. So essentially it wants to be repelling water naturally. So if a product that's not well formulated, it's just going to drip off the leaf. It's not going to stay exactly where we want it to be and engage with that leaf wax. So yeah, they've done a really good job of formulating it so it stays where we want it to be. And you can see here they did some electron microscope images a few years back to just show this. And here's a historic product available. So Chipco Green, you can see the crystals there on the surface. So obviously did a very good job at the rate it was at, but you can see any of those gaps we see between the crystal and the actual leaf wax itself. That's going to be a problem because it can only interact with something that's touching it. It can't move through the air. So it's going to need either water between it or to be directly touching it so that it can absorb into the plant if it's a systemic moving product. So you can see that would be an issue in terms of formulation, whereas the Cernity on the other side, it's really, really engaged with that leaf wax. You can see how tightly it's there and there's no air gaps between that. So it's going to be binding to that wax and it's going to mean that systemic movement is really, really good into the plant. We've done lots and lots of trials. We saw some of them earlier. Just another little one on Microdocium that we did in ISTI, so the Irish Sports Turf Institute, back in 2018. So you can see in the untreated control, starting towards the end of September, so 22nd of September, and going all the way through to early February. You can see the untreated control kind of gets quite out of hand. And even if we're at 3-4%, that's going to be fairly unacceptable levels of disease there. And it's going all the way up to almost 12%. So you have high levels of disease and definitely unacceptable levels on a putting green, putting surface. And we can see here that when we applied Cernity as part of a program, so Cernity, then Instrata Elite, then Medallion, and that's kind of the order we would recommend them in terms of if you were going to go with those products. Cernity working better when it's warmer because you need that bit of active growth. Instrata Elite, having the Difen in it, needs a little bit of active growth, but will do better because the other activing, it doesn't need any active growth. And then Medallion, once it's cold, is going to be doing the best job for you because obviously it's just a contact, it's on the outside of the leaf. So if the less you're removing via cutting, so the colder it is, the longer that product's going to be lasting for you. Medallion might still do a really good job for your early doors, but actually you're getting much better value out of it when you can use it when it's cold. All of the products were applied with Rider, so about a monthly intervals they did for this project. And what we can see is just feeding into that, like what we want to be achieving is getting those preventative applications in before we're really seeing that disease, and we're able to keep really good clean surfaces, and they didn't need to do any further applications after this, and that kept them all the way up to February. So it's seen them all the way through that sort of Microdocium season, which is really, really nice to see. And yeah, just to see it a bit more visually there. So you've got on the right the Cernity, followed by Instrata, followed by Medallion, and yeah, kept really, really good levels of clean surfaces. And then in the untreated control, you can see the kind of level of disease they were looking at there. So not really great. So that's 12 weeks after the last application. So last application was November, and yeah, that was in February, 3 months later. Where it fits into your program. So Cernity is something that needs, we've talked about already, just needs that little bit of growth. It's not something that's easy to kind of put a date on. I can't tell you it'd be the 25th of April will be the first day you can put it on, and the last date will be 19th of November. It's really to do with a little bit of growth. So it's just it's something that's a bit more intuitive than that. You've got to kind of figure it out. But what I'll talk in a moment about a really good way that you can sort of look at that, because I think last year or the year before, last year we had a bit of a cold snap early doors. So actually maybe you wouldn't be able to use it into December, but the year before, I think it was sort of 16 degrees on Christmas Day in some areas of the UK. So yeah, you could maybe use it for a lot longer in those kind of situations. So it's really to do with just having a certain level of growth. And we're going to look at in a moment an option we've got for looking at that with the Cernity, maybe recommending 0.2 on growth potential. So if you've got some growth potential above 0.2, that's probably enough to get the product in and moving through the plant. And if it's below that, then it's probably looking for a different option in those situations. Turf Advisor app is now available to download, so you can get that from the Play Store or the Android store as well. And you can download that, and it's got some really, really good models in there and growth potential in there, and it's all free to use. Some really, really good features, and we think it's just a great way to help you manage when you want to be using different products. So this is not me recommending a really stacked program. This is just saying when we're talking about resistance management, even if you have a favorite product, so let's say you absolutely love Heritage, what you don't want to be doing, depending on what disease you're looking to target, you just don't ever want to be putting 2 Heritages or 3 or 4 Heritages, one after the other. So boom, 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 boom. The problem with that you're going to get is you're much more likely to get resistance because you're really forcing the pathogens there into just being able to overcome that one fungicide. So you're putting a lot of pressure on your one fungicide. With a good resistance management program, you always want to be trying to rotate between different things. So it doesn't mean maybe you're just looking after anthracnose and you're not worried about anything in the winter. You would still want to alternate between different chemistries there. So we've got 5 different mode of actions in these products here. So Heritage azoxystrobin, Acernity, Selatinol, and difenoconazole. So that's 1, 2, 3. In Strata Elite, it's got difen again, so that doesn't count as a fresh one, but it's got your the same chemical that's in Medallion as well. So then we've got an extra one in there. So yeah, total of 5 active, different mode of action, active ingredients, which is really, really good. And that's going to give us enough to give a really nice resistance management program. And again, just talking about when we see them fitting best, the warmer it is, the better your Heritages and your Acernity are going to do, because they need that little bit of turf growth so they can move. They're not going to do good when it's, you know, very low temperatures and they can't move and can't go into the leaf. But your Strata Elites are going to do better in those cooler times, but your Medallion's going to do best when it's really, really cold, because obviously it doesn't need any plant growth to function really well for you. In terms of getting the most out of it, we would recommend, again, applying it preventatively. We saw before why we want to do that. We get better results. We always test all our fungicides at preventative and curative timings, and we always see better results in the preventative. They still do a really good job for you curatively. If something's gone wrong and you've just seen a big outbreak that you weren't expecting, then it's still going to do a good job for you curatively, but it's always going to be doing a better job preventatively, because you're able to knock down that spore population and hit it before it's really got too out of control. And again, the rate's going to be 3 liters a hectare product, 250 to 500 liters of water. And in terms of nozzles, we'd recommend the Syngenta 08XC nozzles. That's going to give you a foliar application, so it's going to be staying where we want it to be on the leaf. The timing, we've got March to November, but we've talked about that already. Like finding those right windows is really depending on that little bit of grass growth you've got as well there. So it's just kind of monitoring that. When we're doing trials, we tend to do a lot of work on spray volumes as well. So you can see here we've done a load of different spray volumes, and over the different trials that we did, the best rates of control we got were with the 350 liters a hectare, so kind of mean infection across the 4 trials. So that's what we would recommend as our best water volume application. So to conclude, yeah, it's really exciting to have another product in our portfolio that we can use in Gulf greens and teas. Again, 2 mode of action, which is making it really powerful at controlling some tough diseases. Curative and preventative action, obviously always trying to get it preventative where we can. It's a new mode of action chemistry for us in Syngenta, so something extra we can add to that portfolio. It is active in the organic matter layer, so it will give you some subsequent control of non-target diseases, because it's a very good broad spectrum product. We know in the US they have it registered for others, so we might look to get it labeled for other diseases like fairy ring, and yeah, it's very effective against a lot of other diseases there. It's got that optimized formulation we got to see. So yeah, really well balanced systemic movement that's going to bind with that leaf wax and go in and not shoot through the leaf, but do a really, really good job for us. And yeah, we've had it in the UK and stadiums for a while, and Ireland for a few years now in Gulf. And yeah, we've had some really, really good feedback on it. So it's really nice to have it for you guys as well. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Any questions, always get in contact with me. And there's always advice on the Greencast Advisory blog as well. So thanks very much for listening, guys, and speak to you again soon.